It would be an absolute sin to go to the South Central California Valley and not do a wine tasting. We're going looking for yellow-billed magpies, but before we do that, we're at the Gainey Winery, and I'm tasting an awesome Sauvignon Blanc, matured in oak for 9 months. Grassy, with a hint of citrus and pear. Let's go birding.
Smoking ponies, did you see that bird?
And this is the perfect habitat for this bird.
Yeah, that's what I call birding. Awesome, that's our golden bird.
En route to the Central Valleys to look for this week's golden bird, we've stopped in at the Audubon Center at Debs Park in downtown LA. I was really interested to find out what steps are being taken to ensure that birding thrives right in the heart of Metropolis.
This particular Audubon Center, we started looking at sites in the late 1990s. And what we saw was that we were busing kids from one part of Los Angeles to another. So we were busing them from the inner city to the beaches and teaching them about birds down at wetlands and really exciting places. And then they were coming home and there wasn't really a connection of what they were learning at the wetlands and what they were doing at home. So we started looking for sites that were surrounded by urban communities, but had enough nature so that there'd be actually things to see, birds to see, other animals to see, mammals and lizards and reptiles and things like that. And we found Debs Park, which is the third largest park in the city of Los Angeles. It's about 300 acres. And what's great about this park is that it was somewhat forgotten for many, many years. So the northern 2/3 of this park is remnant Southern California habitat that's really hard to find in this part of LA. And we're able to bring kids out here and they see red-tailed hawks circling around, Cooper's hawks, kestrels, and it's just a really amazing experience for them to kind of see these animals up close and personal right in their own backyard.
The Audubon Center here at Debs Park has won numerous awards for being one of the most eco-friendly buildings in the entire of the United States of America.
The center was constructed thinking of the earth. We, as Audubon, when we were saying that we were going to build nature centers, we wanted to make sure that these centers were as green and sustainable as possible. The building is 100% solar powered, and then all the building materials as well came from renewable resources, came from recycled content, and came from very local. So a lot of the products that we used in our building were sourced from just under 100 miles away from here. This center is actually located in a low-income neighborhood, so there are high levels of crime. So it's somewhat symbolic that the rebar in the building is made of recycled material, and some of that recycled material comes from melted down gun stocks that were turned into the LA County Sheriff. So it's almost the swords into plowshares kind of idea. And what's holding up this building are symbols of violence and crime, but we reshape them to kind of create this place of hope and thinking about the future and connecting kids to nature.
That's what birding's all about. Get the kids involved, get them excited about their next birding adventure. California is one of the top destinations to go birding in the United States of America for several reasons. Firstly, over 600 different species of birds have been recorded in the state. It also has a number of endemic or near endemic species which are found nowhere else but in the California area. And it also has a great diversity of habitat and ecosystems, which leads to a huge diversity of bird species. Living on the eastern side of the United States as I do, it's a nice experience coming to the western side of the United States because most of the bird species are new and refreshing. The search for this week's golden bird, the yellow-billed magpie, takes place in the Central Valley region of California. And before we headed out to the Central California valleys, we spent some time in some of the different habitats to be found on this side of the country. Habitat like chaparral, habitat like oak woodlands, and habitat like savanna parklands.
We're at the top of Malibu Canyon in Calabasas, just north of Los Angeles, and this is the dominant vegetation type on these mountaintops. It's called chaparral, and there are also sage type vegetations in this bush. And what we're looking for in this chaparral habitat are a number of birds that prefer these surrounding environs. Birds like California thrashers, the wren tit, and the California towhee.
On this trip, I was most excited by two species in particular that I had missed on previous excursions to California. One being the wren tit and the other being the Nuttall's woodpecker.
The wren tit is an exciting tiny bird, a little bit larger than the bush tits that co-inhabit this environment. It is a skulking bird that is seldom seen, except at times like these, before the breeding season when males advertise their territories.
These oak groves behind me are excellent for a number of superbirds, including several species of woodpecker. The woodpecker which we're really searching for here is a woodpecker called the Nuttall's woodpecker. It has a restricted range and it's got this very high-pitched treet, treet, treet call. And we're going to see if we can find one in these wood groves.
Just so that we know what the call of Nuttall's woodpecker sounds like, I'm using my bird jam equipment, scrolling down to Nuttall's woodpecker, play it, brings up a picture of the bird and the call.
There he is right here in the tree, close.
In fact, this bird is not a male at all, it's a female. Males have a red patch at the base of the crown. These are really busy, active woodpeckers that frequently shift the positions when they're feeding. What a nicely patterned and range-restricted species, the Nuttall's woodpecker.
We headed out early one morning along the coastline to make our way into the Central Valley area where yellow-billed magpies are to be found. Along the way, we stopped for a brief kayaking excursion to experience the kelp forests of the Pacific Ocean.
When we're ready to launch, no matter what, the waves always get bigger.
This is one of the fastest growing crazes along the California coast. It's called paddle boarding. And watermen and waterwomen will go out in the early mornings on these paddle boards, paddle way out into the ocean, get some great exercise and catch the waves in. It's a beautiful pastime and it's growing in California. I'm sitting in a kelp forest off the coast of Southern California. Kelp forests are an incredibly dynamic and diverse ecosystem. Kelp is actually a form of algae from the Laminarialis order, and in many ways, this ecosystem is similar to a terrestrial forest. It'll have an upper gallery of kelp, there'll be different species in the mid-story, and further, in the understory, there'll be different species of kelp as well. Multiple species of kelp in one massive ecosystem. And these kelp forests provide a third dimension to the ocean underworld. This is like a magical fairyland underneath the ocean, and there'll be tons of species of fish that'll take refuge in here. Sea lions and harbor seals will take refuge in the kelp to escape predators like orcas and great white sharks. This is a very magical ecosystem. Great schools of baitfish will also come and seek shelter within these kelp forests, and that provides a multitude of food for many species of birds. Birds like Forster's terns, Pacific loons, double-crested and Brandt's cormorants, all of those species will feed on the bounty that these kelp forests keep within their realm. A lot of the larger kelp species will be connected to the rocky substrate or the rocky bottom by a foot with roots on it. That actual foot or root does not provide any nutrient benefit to the kelp itself. The nutrient benefit is all at the top or the fronds of the kelp species. And some species of kelp like this one here will have tiny air bladders that enable it to float close to the surface of the water where they can get the most light and enable them to photosynthesize. The fronds themselves will also absorb nutrients from the nutrient-rich water as well.
I tell you, this water is freezing. This is one of the canopy species of kelp. It's called a boa kelp. Guess you can wear it like a feather boa. Water is crystal clear, but damn cold. I'm gonna see if I can get some footage under here.
This is my favorite part of the kelp. Take a look here at the terminal blade. This is so cool. All this growth has happened since this morning. Those air bladders have been keeping it afloat. It's been photosynthesizing since the sun came up. And you can see how these strands haven't even separated yet. They're still all connected. And this will grow a foot or 2 feet a day in the right conditions. The right conditions are cold water, full of nutrients, and not a lot of pollution is what this coastline affords us because it's protected and it doesn't have some of the concerns that you find in places like LA, off the coast of the UK, where they've actually spent millions of dollars trying to restore kelp forests.
And this is called the giant brown kelp. And it's also one of the canopy species of kelp in this kelp forest. You can see it's also got the tiny air bladders to keep it afloat and allow it to photosynthesize. You never know what's underneath you in these forests. Ah!
The Central Valley of California is home to another very threatened bird. A bird whose entire population almost resides within California. In fact, 99% of the breeding population of tricolored blackbirds rests right in the state of California.
Tricolored blackbirds are a threatened species in California because California has lost 80% of its freshwater wetlands. Tricolored blackbirds typically nested in large colonies throughout the Central Valley of California in freshwater wetlands. A lot of those wetlands have been converted to agriculture or to development. Most of the species still does nest in California. They do range into Oregon and Baja California a little bit, but about 90% of the population nests in the interior valleys of Central California.
During the 1990s alone, the population of tricolored blackbirds crashed, and nearly 50% of the population disappeared between 1994 and 2000. This has raised the tricolored blackbird to a species of special national concern. Looking for yellow-billed magpies in these open oak woodlands, we came across several common species of birds to California. One of the most beautiful woodpeckers in North America is the acorn woodpecker, and they are extremely common in these oak woodlands. This particular bird is excavating a nesting hole. This is the season when woodpeckers will start to breed. It's springtime, and this bird is getting ready. Welcome to Solvang, South Central California. This is prime habitat for one of the coolest birds in North America, the yellow-billed magpie. We're going to be driving along this road, checking in these areas of oak savanna and watching for yellow-billed magpies on the fence posts and in the trees close to the road. This is probably the best way to look for these birds. They're very conspicuous, beautiful black and white plumage with a nice yellow bill, very easy to spot. Let's see if we have some luck. An excellent place to look for yellow-billed magpies is a road called Alisal Road, close to Solvang. We've driven this road between Solvang, past the golf courses, towards the national park. Although we haven't seen the magpies yet, we're driving through some incredible mosaics of open grassland, beautiful oak
groves, and the wildflowers are out. Really, really spectacular to see these beautiful oranges, yellows, and bright colors along the side of the road. Driving along this road looking for the magpies, we chanced upon a red-tailed hawk that swooped in from the side of the road and picked up a ground squirrel. I think we've stopped about 20 times for acorn woodpeckers so far. Black and white birds, very similar in size to yellow-billed magpies, a little bit smaller. Yellow-billed magpies have obviously got the really long tails, but at a distance, you see the black and the white, and it's fooled us a couple of times where we've had to stop and go, oh my goodness, another acorn woodpecker, no luck. Anyway, we're going to carry on, see what we can find. Jeff, I think you want to keep rolling here. I've got a good feeling. I think we're going to find these guys. Flaming pheasants! Check here, we've got a bird right here. I'm going to turn around, see if we can sneak up on these guys. Such beautiful birds. It's going to be very cool. Okay. Just turn around. They're just up ahead of this corner here. Around this corner. Here he is, right here. I'm just going to pull over here. Should be able to film the guy right here. Awesome, look at him. He's in that tree, he seems to be, I think he's eating something. Hold on, just get a look at this guy before we put this into park. He's definitely eating something. Let's go get a closer look. Awesome. That's our golden bird, yellow-billed magpie. Yeah! He's absolutely hammering. What a display this guy's putting on for us. This is exactly the type of prey that yellow-billed magpies will feed on. Little mammals, insects, reptiles. They'll often forage on the ground, turning over cow paddies, turning over rocks, leaves, looking for things underneath the leaves. And this guy has been in luck today. Hey, aggressive little guy. There's another bird coming down onto the grass. Wow, look at this. Look at this here. We've got a beautiful yellow-billed magpie right here. That is exactly the strategy that they'll employ to catch their prey. They also adapt their feeding strategies to what food is available at the time. Some times of the year, they'll feed nearly exclusively on acorns. For that reason, actually, acorn woodpeckers will get quite angry with them if they come into their territory. Acorn woodpeckers at the right time of the year will actually chase away or try to chase away yellow-billed magpies because they're scared that they're going to steal their acorns. But at other times of the year, they'll adapt their feeding strategies to feed on insects. If insects are available, they'll feed on fruit, they'll feed on a whole variety of nuts, they'll feed on just about anything. So they're very, very adaptable and very able to survive throughout the year, during periods of drought, during periods of good times, during periods of high rainfall. Everything suits this particular bird. They differ very distinctly from their more widespread cousin, the black-billed magpie, simply by the color of the bill. The name says it all, yellow-billed magpie, and they've got a bright yellow bill. Black-billed magpie is a slightly larger bird with a heavy black bill, and black-billed magpies are found on the eastern slopes of the Sierras in northeastern California, the yellow-billed magpie being found only here in the south-central valleys of California. Nobody really knows exactly how many yellow-billed magpies are left in California. Experts put the number at anything from 30,000 to 150,000 individuals, and they're quite threatened due to a number of reasons, including climate change, destruction of their habitat to make way for vineyards, and also the West Nile virus, which has devastated parts of certain populations. Of all the corvid species, I think that the yellow-billed magpie is the most striking and the most entertaining. Their beautiful black and white plumage with that bright yellow bill really makes for a great birding experience. And combine that with their comical antics and the way that they move around, they are very, very great birds to watch.
never been before. And it's hard to be happy and you know it, so you really want to show it. Cause one day you will own it. If you know it, clap your hands. If you know it, clap your hands. Now is the time of your life. Oh, now is the time. It's a sweet ride to the end of the line. Now is the time of your life. It's riding with the
It would be an absolute sin to go to the South Central California Valley and not do a wine tasting. We're going looking for yellow-billed magpies, but before we do that, we're at the Gainey Winery, and I'm tasting an awesome Sauvignon